Hey, hello everyone, and
Hello.
welcome to our national judging for Super Studio 2024. Um, First and foremost, congratulations to our teams from South Australia, Victoria, Queensland, and Victoria. Did I say that? Tasmania, Victoria, South Australia, Queensland.
Yep.
Um, I'll also start with acknowledgement of country. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands in which we're meeting today and pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. I extend that respect to any First Nations peoples we have here with us today. Um, so I am Matthew Spransky. I am the SONA Vice President for Professional Development, and one of the co-creative directors for this year's brief that you've all worked toward. Um, this year we received 83 submissions, which accumulate to 182 students across the country participating in their presentations to local juries. Again, a congratulations and special mention to the chapter winners and runners-up for your impressive submissions. The Super Studio website will shortly be updated with these projects in the coming weeks to have a look through the local winners from each state and territory. Super Studio could also not go ahead without the generous volunteers from the profession who contributed their time and expertise to make Super Studio possible. I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge all of our mentors, jury members, design day speakers, and the practices who offered office immersion prizes, and of course our venue hosts for presentation days and mentors. And also to my fellow creative directors, Alison Stout, Erica Bartak, and Dr. Chris Jensen. Super Studio could also not go ahead without the generous support of Alspec. And for 2024 Super Studio, we have Alistair Baldwin from Alspec to say a few words. I can pass that on to you, Alistair.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Matt. I'm going to be very quick. I am here just to say good luck. Well done for making it this far. This is amazing. Really great achievement. I am super excited because I'm actually coming to. I'm always in Melbourne. I'm always around Victoria. But I'm coming to Tasmania. I'm coming to Tasmania at the end of the month. So if Tasmania win, I will hand it over in person and shake all of your hands. The same for if Melbourne win. But I'm not biased. New South Wales, good luck. Or Queensland, good luck. And South Australia, good luck. Well done, everybody. And yeah, looking forward to the winner. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Alistair. And Alistair and Alison are both joining us, and it's their birthday today. So an extra special thanks to you guys for
Oh, is
giving
it
out your
Allison's
birthday
birthday as
evenings.
well?
Yes.
Oh, oh, that's so funny. That's great.
Thanks, Alistair.
Thank you.
So this session is a little bit different to previous years. This year we've introduced this national shortlist presentation into the Super Studio program. And we're really excited, or I'm especially excited, to bring this part of the competition, allowing more students to see and hear from different teams across different chapters, different states and territories. Which brings me to introducing our shortlisted teams that are presenting today. From Tasmania, we have the Jingana Epicormic Resilient Community Housing Strategy from students Luke Pendergast, Mia Larsen, and Lachlan Sutton, all master's students at the University of Tasmania. From Victoria, Project D, Disaster Drone Deploy, student Sam Wilson, a master's student from RMIT, and Thierry Fong, a master's student from the University of Melbourne. From South Australia, we have the Safe Harbour from Shashwath, Ravisundar, and Harita Kumari, master's students at the University of Adelaide. And finally, from Queensland, we have Moodular Meadows from students Luke Elliott, B. Angela and Seco, and Khoa, Tran, all students of the Queensland University of Technology. The way that this session will run is each of the shortlisted teams will now have 5 minutes to present, plus an extended time of 5 minutes for jury feedback and Q&A. The order of presentations will be randomized, and following the presentations, the national jury will deliberate, so we'll be put into a separate room. If you could just hang around, we'll then come back to announce the national winners. So our first team up to present is Tasmania with Jingana Epicormic Resilient Community Housing Strategy. So I'll pass on to the students from Tasmania. One thing that I did forget to mention is, because this is a new way that we're doing it this year, we still haven't worked out some of the kinks. So to access your 2 slides, just ask to go to the next slide, and Madeline from the Institute will flip the slides for you back and forth. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Okay. We're Team Tassie. I'm Mia, and this is Luke and Lockie. In the heart of North Queensland, where fierce elements of nature shape the landscape and the lives of its inhabitants, the Jingana, or Banksia aquilonia, stands as a testament to resilience. Battered by cyclones, soaked by torrential rains, and scorched by bushfires, this remarkable native flower not only survives but thrives, transforming adversity into opportunity. Inspired by this resilient flora, the Jingana Epicormic Resilient Housing Strategy emerges, a beacon of hope and strength for communities facing nature's fury.
Just as the Jingana releases its seeds in the aftermath of fire, allowing new life to flourish, our housing strategy provides immediate refuge and lasting security for those displaced by disaster. Within 24 hours, families can find solace in shelters designed to withstand the harshest conditions, offering not just survival, but a foundation for renewal. This is more than just a housing solution. It's a lifeline, a promise of safety and a new beginning, deeply rooted in the wisdom of nature.
Through biomimetic adaptation of this phenomenon, the Jingana Epicormic Resilient Community Housing Strategy can have populations facing climatic events safe within 24 hours of arrival on site, allowing affected families immediate shelter and respite from the elements. Each pod comes fully equipped with everything 12 individuals need to survive the aftermath of a severe climatic event, including waste management, kitchens, food and water for 2 weeks, basic medical supplies, and power through the generator or battery, as well as bedding. The strategy provides those affected with immediate relief until the construction of ancillary infrastructure and amenity has been completed. The second stage, airlift of materials, which will be delivered and installed within the next 48 hours, supplies the 18 prefabricated panels required for the residential extensions. These extensions offer a modular adaptation of the core living quarters, allowing inhabitants to customise according to their needs and desires. This adaptability empowers the community to shape their living spaces as they see fit. Slide change, please.
In terms of immediate response and lasting resistance to natural calamity, we felt we could do better than the 2-week installation timeline. So we designed a system that could provide both immediate relief and long-lasting support and assistance. This was achieved through a staged system, as you can see on the left, whereby the core functions of shelter and supply could be met with haste and temporary facilities offered, while the ancillary capabilities were being set up. This resulted in faster initial response times and the opportunity for those affected to catch their breath and engage in the subsequent stages of installation as they see fit.
Making spaces that would be adaptive to various diverse lifestyles and living requirements was paramount to our strategy. In addition to the core interest in safety and security during a disaster, we wanted to ensure that cultural, social, and religious requirements were respected and facilitated, both individually and on the community level. We achieved this through modularity and adaptability in the Extension Spaces program within our design. Our design allows individuals, family groups, and even whole communities to customise the program of their dwellings and the addition and implementation of open and closed public spaces to best suit their needs and desires.
We wanted our design to be as effective as possible whilst leaving minimal to zero trace after it had been packed up and moved. This was achieved through the implementation of materials that could be easily recycled and replaced and the intentional use of technology, ensuring the community's footprint would not persist after the community had moved on. We were also conscious of the tremendous mental and physical strain that those affected would be under. To ensure that we didn't unnecessarily add to their plate of stress, we designed our system to be as self-contained and versatile as possible, allowing it to be deployed near the existing settlement to minimise displacement of those affected.
Like the Jingana, Our proposal uses form and strategic systems to counteract the devastating impact of the outlined natural disasters. In response to cyclones, we looked at an aerodynamic shape to mitigate high winds, rigid construction and reinforcements, and hurricane tie-downs. Weighted and anchored footings made of gabion walls filled with recycled rubble and debris found on site provide support and mass, while concrete-less pin-pile footings anchor the building into the ground. To mitigate the impact of flood, we raise the structure to sit atop these gabion walls, allowing water to pass by underneath. The highly insulated core bunker can be tightly sealed to provide a haven during a fire. Its self-contained nature ensures damage to internal building services and inhabitants is kept to a minimum. High fire-rated materials such as fire-rated composite sandwich panels, aluminium and corrugated iron, as well as sealable openings protect the bunker, providing safety until the fire passes.
In times of dire need, the Jingana Epicormic Resilient Housing Strategy leverages biomimetic inspiration from one of North Queensland's most resilient plants, providing communities throughout Australia and abroad with safety and hope. A living embodiment of resilience that offers not only immediate shelter, but the promise of a future reborn from the ashes. As the Jingana flourishes in the face of adversity, so too will these communities rise, stronger and more united. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys. I'll hand off to my co-creative directors for comments.
Oh, fantastic work, guys. I just wanted to say, I don't really have any questions. I think your presentation was really succinct, but really detailed as well. And I particularly just loved your consideration of staging and how this project can evolve over time from that immediate urgent shelter to sort of the adaptability for people to stay long term. So congratulations on thinking your way through that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How did you come up with the form?
I can talk. So at its core, it was sort of original inspiration was from a water tank, and then we sort of adapted it to make it a little bit more aerodynamic and a little bit more, I suppose, visually appealing in some ways.
It came from strong pods, like the idea of having one smaller bunker where the most important things can be fit, the people and the more expensive services, such as the bathrooms and all that kind of thing, and then the houses grew from there.
I think as well, the sort of, especially the ancillary structures as well, we kind of wanted it to look a little bit like have that sense of Aussie vernacular to it.
And like a normal home.
Yeah.
Yeah, but easily deployable pods was the,
But also be like, I think a lot of the cues as well come from the fact that it is designed to be modular and easy to erect. So
yeah.
Thank you.
Do you think it has any challenges related to different sites or different climates that you might modify the design to suit?
I think in terms of its response, we're quite happy with how it can open up in hotter climates and shut down in colder climates.
I think there probably would depend if it was to be put in a much colder place, I think, or a place that was cold for longer periods of time, I think there probably would be some adjustments with things like insulation or
in terms of thickness.
Yeah. But I think generally to survive all three of those events, you kind of have a pretty
You have to start with
robust and resilient building.
And the ancillary structures, the bedrooms can be changed with an extra deck, but depending on the climate. So that could be a bit customizable depending on that.
Were there any other comments from the jury? No? Awesome. Great job. In that case, we'll move on to our next project, which is coming from Victoria, D, Disaster Drone Deploy.
Hello everyone, my name is Thierry and this is Sam, and welcome to our provocation D. D rejects the conventions of architecture as a singular static object and looks to the dynamic and contemporary, the non-architectural typology of drones.
D posits a remedy to the adversity of extreme climatic events that manifests as a deployable system composed of airborne pods.
D can be deployed anywhere to provide urgent shelter and emergency housing to displaced communities.
D is composed of one typology, symbiotically forming an accretive urban mass.
D is a flock of birds, a school of fish, a hive of bees, restorative to the ecosystem, a system to remediate disaster-ravaged landscapes.
The analysis of recent disasters above the Tropic of Capricorn determines Longreach as a location that bears all three of the scrutinized calamities. On the traditional lands of the Inangai, Longreach is prone to regular flooding from the adjacent Landsborough waterway, the omnipresent threat of bushfire from the southwest Salton Creek forest, and the perilous westerly wind and developing La Nina.
A devastated family, despondent, desperate and dreary, no longer have a home, their livelihood lost to the forces of nature. As they arrive at Longreach to alleviate their displacement, they see a swarm of drones simultaneously arriving. Hope is inspired. They will have a roof over their head tonight.
Over the course of 2 weeks, D grows like a colony as more and more displaced people arrive on site. At a scale of 100 people with capacity for expansion, thresholds of interaction are created from a standalone pod to a projecting wing to the entire communal space. The collection of drones allows various household sizes to exist: an individual, a couple, a family. Slide change, please. The ensemble of drones is primarily influenced by the social accretion pertaining to Indigenous camp settlements found in the reading of Paul Memmott and Alison Page's text, Design, Building on Country. Here, Ursula McConnell is quoted regarding the Western Cape York Peninsula. Throughout the camp, there extends from one campfire to another a chain of kinship, more intimate between some families than others, and closer between some clans than others. A diagram of this layout is found in the middle of this panel. The socio-spatial structure is integrated into D in the projecting wings that form reminiscent subcamp groups, whereby each individual in a subcluster would share some common social relationship or identity.
When summoned, the lightweight drones propel themselves with self-generated solar power. Arriving to site, the drone wings gracefully fold into themselves, landing gear extends, and the compressible external walls expand to enclose the interior living space. The drone evolves into a self-contained, self-sustaining living unit with modular furniture and fixings, configurable depending on the household composition. Kurakawa's metabolist capsule architecture turned deployable and dynamic. Resistance to extreme climatic events is embedded in the mechanical characteristics of each unit. Please fix your attention to the diagrams at the top of this panel. An interstitial layer of flotation devices, transposed from Apollo-era Moodular capsules, enables buoyancy in the case of an inundated ground. A Kevlar smoke mesh layer blocks bushfire-derived smoke and particulates. Steel tie-down rods and board anchor piers ensure an inert stance during cyclonic events. And furthermore, the formal arrangement of a drone collective is oriented in accordance to the site's particular windrose data. A spatial windbreak against predominant wind directions is formed. Subject to a subtropical continental climate, the solar roof can be positioned for maximum sun exposure and double functions as a means of ventilation, reminiscent of a typical Queenslander.
The reticulated nature of the pods are relieved by spatially rich volumes. This is shown on the left of the panel. These are manifested by triple height tensile sails, easily erectable and dismountable.
As the aforementioned family recovers from the shock of their loss, they familiarize themselves with their immediate neighbors and the other 100 residents.
These architecturally inspiring moments foster introspective internal congregation, social connectivity, and provide hope and motivation during times of despair and displacement.
Over the course of the 6 months, the family home is restored and they can now finally leave Longreach. As they depart, they see the drone they inhabited compress itself and fly away, ready to be reused and redeployed at the next disaster site.
D posits not a singularity of structure, but a dynamic, pseudo-biological response to remediate climatically devastated sites and communities.
D is drone architecture for environmental healing.
D is a haven and a refuge. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, I'll pass on to my national jury.
I'll start. Can you hear me? Well done. I think it's a really innovative concept. One of the things I wanted to ask you about is similar to the previous question that I had for the other team. How did you come up with the form in response to, I guess, the logistics of a flyable object?
So in terms of the form, the hexagonal form was sort of more driven by a sort of biomimetic approach. We looked very much at the analogy of a hive of bees or a hive of insects, and the hexagon as a form is easily tessellatable into the overall spatial arrangement of the overall site. And in terms of the form from an aerodynamic point of view, the availability of multiple edges along the hexagon means that these sort of typical components of the drones that we're familiar with can easily be placed, such as the 4 turbines, also the flotation devices from borrowed sort of from a lunar capsule. So those were the main drivers for the form.
And when these hexagonal forms come together, they orient themselves in a way that creates a shading and windbreak on site. So the idea is that wherever these drones are deployed, their form can change in response to the windrose data. So it's dynamic and would depend on site. But in the terms of long reach, this is the configuration.
Thank you.
I had a question. Thanks for the presentation, guys. Very creative. I am wondering, did you consider the possibility that the drone would deploy the accommodation and the actual drone itself would return somewhere? The reason I ask is because that's probably the part that's most vulnerable to further extreme weather events. So I'm just wondering if that was considered in the design.
As in, is your question whether an alternative would be the drone sort of deploying the living unit separately and then departing the site?
Yeah, so if you look at the illustration at the right, the base, which is the drone, I just wondered if you had a thought of it being to deliver the habitable structure and the drone part returns. It's certainly not I was just interested if you had a thought of that as one of the possibilities, that's all.
Yeah, we definitely, during the design process, went through different ideas of how this deployable system would operate. And we settled on the idea of the drone being a comprehensive living unit because we really wanted to integrate the sort of resistance to different disasters throughout the overall form of the entire drone, from the landing gear also being a structural element to elevate the drone above the floodwater level, to other aspects such as the turbines folding in.
And as Thierry said, this thing is compact as possible, but the idea is that this thing is, the entire creation is actually dependent on how many people require the pods. So this thing can actually change in size instantaneously. And by having the landing gear and propellers there, when these drones aren't needed, it can take off and go to another disaster site. So to answer your question, if the landing gear and propellers are always attached to the drone, as soon as it's not needed, it can transfer its place instantaneously.
Great, thanks, guys.
Well done, guys. I really loved the rapid deployability and the completely radical. I think you answered the radical part of the brief in terms of a non-construction, non-building sort of solution. I'm going to pinch a little bit of Chris's question from the last group, just wanting to know whether you'd thought much about its adaptability over different locations and climates. Just from looking at it, it looks like a very sort of contained little pod within the drone structure. And I guess related to that, just could you tell us a little bit more about how it, over that longer term habitation, like what kind of space and use and other structures might be in amongst that pod system? Like, do they look kind of tessellated? Is there any sort of imagined open space or things between that for not just that secure occupation inside the pod?
Yeah, for sure. I'm glad you spoke about that because these are, with this cellular structure, it becomes quite compartmentalized and has the propensity or potential to become isolated and enclosed. If you look at the renders on the left, this is ameliorated by open space. We actually produced a model in our thinking, but this shows that when the idea is that when the drones deploy, they actually have moments of relief where they don't land, and this creates internal pockets of relief. And these are covered with anticlastic tensile structures. And the idea was that this is internal focus because externally the landscape is completely distraught and wrecked. So this provides the relief from these sort of cellular pods.
Yeah, great. And just in terms of those pods operating in, I mean, you've picked Longreach for your location, which makes perfect sense. Do you think it would need much adaptation for deployment to different climatic areas?
We designed the pods in terms of being a comprehensive living unit with as much adaptability to the main sort of disasters that afflict the Australian continent north of the Tropic of Capricorn. So sort of different mechanical and structural elements pertaining to the different disasters that I mentioned before in the diagrams at the top of this panel. And also some of this resistance and site adaptability is a sort of emergent condition that arises from the overall spatial arrangement of the collective of pods as well.
For sure. Just to reiterate, the most profound part of this adaptability is when this complex is deployed in another site, it would take the windrose data and assort itself in response to it, creating the windbreak. So the fundamentals are still the same, but actually at another location, this entire complex could have a complete different form.
Thanks for that. That's time.
That's great. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great. So we can move on to our next team, which is from Queensland with Moodular Meadows.
Hello everyone, we are T-Lab. I am Bea, this is Luke, and this is Khoa. Situated just north of the Tropic of Capricorn is the regional town of Rockhampton, where our communal modular hub, Moodular Meadows, resides. Rockhampton is home to the Darumbal people, with a significant family demographic and ample livestock, resulting with many people relying on cattle for a living, naming it the beef capital of Australia. Given the coastal location of the site, Rockhampton locals are often affected by harsh cyclones, torrential rain, and extreme bushfires throughout the year. To combat this, we have been inspired by the Darumbal people's symbolic water lily to reimagine emergency housing by not only catering to the physical needs and wants of families, but also their emotional and psychological comfort. Growing up around the area, we wanted to emphasize the communal and gathering components, like the water lily, as I understand that in critical and emotional situations, regional towns often rely on each other to get by. So modular pods are customizable through meadows of 4, 8, or 12 people.
Can we have the panel, the second panel, please?
The pods can accommodate family or couple lifestyles, pet accommodation, produce growing, and even livestock care within the floral villages through the customizable rooms. Communal gathering platforms where families can spend time and gather. There are also nets in the center for seating or as a quick escape for emergency situations. We refuse to have an anthropocentric design, as we believe that animals are just as important as humans to connect on sacred Darumbal land. This includes the locals' livelihoods, where many farmers rely on the iconic Brahmin bull to make a living. The effects of spontaneous weather conditions mean that livestock are often disregarded in emergencies and left behind in critical emergencies. We envision that even in the worst situations, families and farmers will have the opportunity to protect even at least a fraction of their pets and livestock, as opposed to none at all. The Brahmin bull's resilience has inspired us to develop our concept based on their ability to adapt to extreme weather conditions, withstanding heat up to at least 103 degrees without harm.
What is also really resilient is cow poo. The large cattle population in Rockhampton results in a large amount of cow manure created. We can harness this existing natural material to create a sustainable and resilient structure. We will create a composite material consisting of chemically treated cow patties to make them odorless, local soils, waterproof linings, and layers of insulation that will protect the cows and the people from the harsh winds, floods, and bushfires. The modules can then be 3D printed at the site much faster than any traditional building methods. To further mitigate from flood damage, the modules will float on buoyant tanks that will keep them above the water at all times. The rigid mounting components, which are stuck into the ground, will allow the modules to move up and down during floods, while staying firmly connected to the rest of the structure during the strong forces of the cyclone winds and flood currents. This mounting component is also the method that we'll use to swap and connect the different modules to the platform. The mounting structure can be placed at the site prior to the bushfires, floods, and cyclone season, ready for when it is needed, and then the modules can be 3D printed quickly when it's necessary. Finally, the community platform will use cross-laminated timber due to its versatility and resistance to the harsh conditions. Its inherent fire-resistant qualities stop it from being destroyed during the bushfires and is raised above the flood level to stop any water damage. And at the end of the 6 months, the modules can be kept up and used for farming equipment, or it can be deconstructed and used as fertilizer for the crops. And we just like to say that we love cows, and that is our concept from Moodular Meadows. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, guys. Yeah, and again, I'll pass on. I see that Alison's put her hand up, so if you'd like to start.
I was just clapping, but yes, so very interesting that you picked Rockhampton. And did any of you grow up there? Or any of you have a connection to there?
I grew up in Emerald, which is about 3 hours away, but I went to Rockhampton pretty much every weekend, so I understand it pretty well. Lots of family around the area too.
Nice. Again, with regards to your form, one of the questions I had for you was, did you test it when it was floating? I guess the anchors of the columns are what keep it straight, but it is a form that would want to tip. So what made you, I guess, do the elongated vertical form?
Could you repeat the question? Sorry.
So basically, if it's floating, that tall of a building would want to tip over in theory, but you've got it anchored to the columns, I know. But I guess what made you elongate that structure? What was the reasoning for making it double story and quite tall?
The reason for we use a double story for the capsule is that the under level is for, we can also use for our cows, so yeah, they can get it inside easily, and the upper can use for storage when storage or livable area.
Thank you.
Congratulations, guys. I really loved the accommodation of the non-human community members in this one, and the fact that you thought about material-wise using this sort of abundant waste resource that was related to your cows. I'm really fascinated by the whole 3D printing thing. Can you tell me, I know it's probably maybe beyond what you were able to show in this presentation, but just, do you have some ideas about how do you deploy that technology in a quick space of time? What kind of tech, and how does that maybe roll out in an emergency? Have you thought about much about that?
Yeah, so we can just sort of ship in the 3D printers, which like have been used before as of houses and with concrete, and then those can be sort of craned in quite easily, because they're not huge structures, and can easily then 3D print out the different modules that can then be created onto the building, the community platform.
Also, 3D printing housing is already been used like since 2018. A small house like about 140 square meters can be printed of like about in 2 days. We believe that our each module can be printed whole in 1 day.
Great, thank you.
Well done, guys. I have a question. I guess it's about thermal comfort for the climate. So I love the concept of the platform and then the pods. I think that's really nicely done, and the cows has been discussed. The pods don't look to me like they would handle the that tropical climate well. So I'm just curious about how you would describe the ability of those pods and, the sleeping quarters perhaps particularly as in regards to ventilation, humidity control and anything like that?
We've tried to keep the ceilings quite tall so the heat and will rise, as well as having some ventilation windows through so they can allow air to come through, and just sort of well insulated to keep it as cool as possible during those hot temperatures.
Can I also add that we've decided in the first slide to kind of put it in a site where it's not too surrounded by like huge bushy vegetation, but at the same time it's close enough so that you can't see it that well, sorry, but there are like large trees and vegetation that could be used sort of as like a windbreaker so that it's not too harsh of an impact on the pod, sorry.
Fantastic, thank you.
Thanks, guys. And that brings us to our final team from South Australia, the Safe Harbour.
Hello everyone, I am Harita and this is Shashwath representing South Australia at Nationals of the Super Studio hosted by Sona. We are both studying our masters at the University of Adelaide and excited to share a proposal for this year's competition.
When we received the brief, Harita and I began exploring how mankind has dealt with natural disasters over the last 300,000 years. This led us to research the resultant architectural strategies of the Northern Australia's early inhabitants. As shown in the illustration, we discovered that these communities elevated their homes to allow floodwaters to flow underneath, used aerodynamic forms to withstand cyclones, and created temporary structures for easy relocation. Crucially, the settlement patterns fostered a strong sense of community, enabling them to face disasters together. But humans aren't the only ones with solution, are they? The armadillo, for instance, curls into a ball for protection, inspiring a design of foldable prefabricated panels for easy transportation. Before we go any further, are you guys curious about the illustration below? We both were baffled to find out that in Australia, bushfires and thunderstorms can occur together. Yes. The intense heat from the fires cause the air to rise rapidly, forming storm clouds. These storms can produce lightning, which may ignite new fires and worsen the situation.
Yeah, so going further into the design, understanding the force of nature was critical. We opted for symmetrical aerodynamic forms to counteract cyclonic forces with a steel structure and cross bracing for stability. The structure is designed for minimal ground insertion but strong lateral resistance. Rising floodwaters required adjustable floor levels. We incorporated hydraulic lifts inspired by car park systems to elevate the building, powered by solar panels on the rooftop. We used foldable prefabricated panels for the roof and walls to achieve sealed joints. This helps in keeping out smoke as shown in the diagram in the left. The panels are made from cement boards with recycled aggregates and agricultural waste, reducing the carbon footprint. Foam insulation is used as a sandwich material between the boards to provide higher fire resistance.
For modularity, we chose an elongated hexagon split into two pentagons, allowing for expandable floor plans to accommodate varying family sizes. As seen in the plans, the modules can be used to house 4 people within 20 square meters or 6 people within 30 square meters. The design includes essential amenities like pantry, storage, and toilets. Most importantly, the structure symbolizes strength and comfort, ensuring a sense of safety. Next page, please.
Thank you. So assembly is simplified for quick setup. A team of 4 can assemble the prefabricated kit in about 4 hours. The rafter is connected to the telescopic column and is further attached to the base, forming the skeleton of the structure. Critical components like foldable beds and pop-up toilets are easily installed. The roof structure collects rainwater and all components fit into a compact, easily transportable box. No skilled labor is required in this simplified process. This allows the inhabitants to create interlocked, scalable modules themselves and foster a sense of ownership.
We also focus on site selection for the disaster relief. As a demonstration site, we chose James Park Sporting in Cairns, Queensland, a region prone to multiple calamities. Being centrally located in Cairns, the site has existing amenities such as water supply, electricity, toilets, and floodlights. The section through the site illustrates the rain shadow area between the bund and the trees as natural wind barriers. Furthermore, we ensure that the slope gradient of the site doesn't exceed 2 to 5%, ensuring a gentle slope to take away rainwater. These factors made it an ideal location for the community.
Yeah, so fostering hierarchy of open spaces, the clusters are organized around a central shared space to encourage communal healing and activities. The organization of clusters is inspired from the hive of bees with over 4 clusters. Each cluster houses 25 people, establishing the settlement of around 100 people. The community is anchored around a central hub providing showers, lockers, and a kitchen and dining space. After the camp, the central hub can continue to serve as a community center at the sporting facility as a way of giving back to the lands that housed them. However, with the high modularity and transportability, the scheme can be reassembled in times of need.
Thank you for the opportunity to present our vision of a resilient and sustainable safe harbour. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Great. Again, I'll pass off to the rest of the jury for comments.
You want to go first, Erica, or you want me to?
I'll go. Sorry, go for it, Alison.
Oh, as an I'll go, not I'll go. Cool. So, well done, guys. I think this is a fantastic outcome. So you should be very proud of yourselves. What made you pick Cairns?
Upon doing research, we realized that the space above the Tropic of Cancer, and we wanted to demonstrate a site within an urban settlement because we want a challenging scenario for relocating communities. So in a realistic scenario, when a calamity hits a city, where do people assemble and how do people recome?
Nice, good answer. Thank you.
Well, congratulations, guys. I really enjoyed this scheme. I liked the drawing on the Indigenous design knowledge for some of your form ideas and the adaptability of the modular structures. I don't have any questions. I guess one of them was just wondering about, have you thought much about the logistics of getting, like, how do you get your kit of parts to site? Where are they stored and things like that?
Yeah. So the entire kit of parts can be transported in boxes of 3 meters by 3 meters into 1.3 meters high, which can be, the settlement would need around 5 trucks to get the entire kit of parts to site. So all we need is 5 trucks.
5 trucks, yeah.
Good one.
Well done, guys. I thought the consideration of the central hub was really clever. Your kit of parts, building on Erica's comment, it would require some assembly on site. Is it designed so that the people who are going to be housed in these structures can assemble them? Or do you propose that there would be a team who sort of turns up and assembles them?
No, our entire process is simplified so that people themselves can build it. We want a sense of ownership that they can develop for building their own houses, so that there's that engagement that they have with their own community. So it is simplified so that they can, it's for them to build themselves.
Yeah,
Right.
it's easy to so it's really easy to install on site because we have given all the kit of parts like step by step, so it won't be very difficult for the people to assemble it on the site. So yeah.
Fantastic, thank you.
Thank you.
Well done.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much. A massive congratulations and big pat on the back for each of the teams presenting today. I know that presenting in the local juries must have been nerve-wracking enough, but presenting online to an unknown audience to me is perhaps a little bit more intense. So congratulations. That was really, really great. What we'll be doing now is taking a short break. The national jury will be moving into a breakout room to discuss and deliberate, and then we'll be coming back in roughly 20 minutes. So stand up, take a stretch, go for a bit of a walk, and come back in 20 minutes. I suggest that you just keep the same recording going instead of closing out and coming back, just in case you miss the big announcement. Okay, thanks guys. I think we're all back. Yep. Oh, yep, cool. Just double checking that we're all back. Great, okay. So thank you all for waiting. And again, I just have to say again, congratulations to everyone for getting this far in the competition. It's really, really exciting. So just to reiterate what's on the line here, our winning team will take home a grand prize of $3,000 thanks to our sponsor, Alspec. And new to this year, have their project featured in the next upcoming edition of Architecture Australia, which is awesome. To announce the winner, I will hand off to Alison Stout.
Thank you, Matt. Firstly, I'd like to say that this wasn't easy, and all of you who are here need to know that your submissions are exceptional for different reasons. And so we wanted to say something positive about each of them so that you understand that each of your submissions genuinely did impact us and give us positive vibes. So in no particular order, we wanted to talk about the Victorian presentation and its incredibly innovative approach. We really think that you should send it to Elon Musk and see what you can get back, because absolutely incredible. Again, in no particular order, I'm just jumping around the list. South Australia, we really, really liked your pragmatic and fully refined submission. You thought about everything, the fact that it was buildable and linking that back to country, and the place that you wanted to build it in was very climactic and sensitive. Queensland, we love 3D printing. The jury absolutely loves 3D printing. And we really liked that you considered all of nature's beings. So keep doing that. Don't lose that as you move forward as architects, please. Don't lose that part of you. Tasmania, we really liked your submission because it seemed to create a legacy, one that was familiar with many who live here and are a part of here. So in saying that, I will give you the winner, but I think there are elements, one of the reasons why all four of you were selected is there are elements that we loved from each of them that we want you to learn from each other. So what I would encourage you is to connect after this with each other, because the things that you brought to your submissions are different in your own, but they would only be better if you come together in the future as architects. All right, that's enough talking. It's making me nervous too to even tell you. The winner of this year's Sona Super Studio goes to Tasmania. Congratulations, everyone. And please go celebrate, because you all made it further than 120 plus other students.
Well done, guys. I was personally blown away when we were shared these final four. So it's absolutely amazing and very impressive, the work that you managed to do in a week, as well as the concepts that you've come up with. So thank you for sharing it with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well done to all the other teams as well. And we're so humbled and grateful for this opportunity. So thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Keep being amazing, all of you.
Congratulations, guys. What will happen now is in the next few days, you'll be receiving, each of you, each team, will be receiving a citation from the national jury to go into your portfolios alongside this project. They'll also be featured on the website so that your work will be shared with our wider audience of Sonar. But aside from further congratulations, this concludes Super Studio 2024. Massive congratulations to the Tasmanian team, and a big thank you to the rest of my national jury.
Congratulations, everyone. Well done on your amazing work.